All right, we'll go ahead and get started, folks. Thanks for coming out so much today to this event. There's going to be a little bit of poetry, a little bit of discussion, and mostly fellowshipping, so I'm glad you all came out. My name is Howard Ramsey. I direct the Black Studies program here at SIUE. I also teach African American literature here in the literature department. So thanks so much for coming out. I can't give shout to everybody, but I always do this now when I got the young folks from East St. Louis, SIUE Charter School. Thanks so much for coming out, young folks. We're glad to have you all here. And also the folks in my class, who I know it's not for extra credit, you're just here because you're happy to be here. Thanks so much for that. One of the things I've always enjoyed about hanging out with my main man Redmond is it brings so many different folks together. And so that's the case today. I started reading Redmond many years ago, reading his works. And the first work I read was this one called Drum Voices. Little did I know then that almost every event Redmond has, he always opens it up with an invocation from drums. So we're going to start with drums by our good friend Sunshine, and after that we're going to have Redmond's nephew, Donahue Redmond, say a few remarks about Redmond, and then we'll get rolling. All right? So.
Thank you, Sunshine. I have to tell you that anytime I hear you play, because I came up during that time with Catherine Dunham and the PATC, yes, Performing Arts Training Center, when I hear that, it makes me want to dance. So I had to. Hey, I don't want to hurt myself. Because those dances I saw back then, dancing to that, no, I would certainly hurt myself. But anyway, my name is Donahue Redmond. I am Eugene's nephew. His second oldest nephew, and I was asked to share a couple of remarks about Eugene. The thing that comes to mind when I think about Eugene, especially in this environment, since this is an academic environment, is how he has always been an educator. Now, if you can imagine, as a young kid, being around an educator, he would come and pick me up, pick my brothers up, and we'd ride around the city of St. Louis, East St. Louis with him. And so while we were riding, he's always thinking about educating. So he wanted to put in our minds certain things about our culture especially. And so while he was sitting there talking and putting things in our minds, I had a problem. I always went to sleep when people would talk to me. So I would sit there at night and he would be talking, putting things in my mind. Now the thing I didn't realize is that even though I was falling asleep, some of that stayed with me anyway. Because one of the things that happened is as I grew older and I went to college, and one of my professors in college asked me, who is it that I admired the most? You know, who was like a role model? Who is it that I respected a lot? And so my paper happened to be about Eugene. And it's because my father had shared certain things with me and my brother about Eugene as he was growing up. You know, like most young men, you get in trouble, and he did, but he came through it and came out of it and found something that he was passionate about. And I think that's probably a key to anybody's success, is to be passionate about what you like. Now, you can tell he was passionate because even as a kid, he would have my brother and I going around selling these little yellow newspapers called the Beacon, you know, things like that, selling these little pamphlets, right, where he had written a poem, Tale of Two Toms, and things like that, selling them for $0.25. You know, those kinds of things. That was passion, even back then at an early age. And so that passion stayed with him, even till the time of being an educator. He went through that, became an educator, and now when I talk to people about him, the one thing that they love to say and tell me and convey to me is that how he's a mentor, how he continues to work with them, inspire them, and mentor them. And that's a hard thing to come by sometimes, because when you have a passion about some things, it's hard to find a mentor because a lot of times they don't have time. They're busy. But the fact that he makes time for young people is extremely important. And I have to say, I applaud you for that. I have the utmost respect for you for that. And I'm sure many of us, who are here feel the same way. So without further ado, I'm not going to delay this any longer, but I did want to share a couple of things about Eugene, not necessarily from an academic perspective, but as a family person, a community person, a lover of people. And I saw this word that he coined called solar, which means we are all connected, no matter who we are, where we are, because Eugene is not just a person, the poet laureate of East St. Louis. He is also a renowned person across the globe, having made several trips to Africa and forged relationships in several different places. So from this, hopefully that some of you will also get in touch with your gift, Desmond Porter, be inspired, based on your compassion to do certain things and not ever be discouraged. Because imagine a young man in East St. Louis, Illinois, running around the nightclubs reading poetry. Can you imagine what kind of boldness that took? So you have to have the same kind of boldness in terms of what you're passionate about and not let anybody turn you away from that. So enjoy the rest of the program. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. Have a good day.
Just a couple, Professor Redmond, if I sit in here, the chair's empty, I'm gonna feel strange like I'm talking to it. So, you don't want to sit up here?
I'll get closer.
Okay.
But I don't want you to Eastwood me.
Okay. A couple things too. Before we go on, I just thought about it. Well, I've been in the Midwest so long, I'm gonna give my southern upbringing. I wanted to thank the folks who have us here. First off, I say it's sponsored by Black Studies, but what that often means for me is that my student assistants are running things and making it happen. So big ups to them, and they'll be in later. But the other folks, I have to say, boy, if you hang around the library enough, you always hear the library people talk about the friends that go through a library. But the library folks are really my good friends. They take care of me a lot. I thought about how generous they were to me when Sunshine started playing. And I said, oh snap, I forgot to ask for permission to have somebody playing like that in the library. But they haven't come and got me yet, so many thanks to the library for everything they do, including allowing me to have programs with drums and played at it. What we'll have now is a few folks going to talk about a poetic form, which they'll explain a lot more, called the Kwansaba. And one of the folks who will come to us is Roscoe Crenshaw. He's an assistant editor for Drum Voice Review. He's a poet, a photojournalist, you see him with the camera, cartoonist, MC, and teacher. His photos, poems, and articles have appeared in or on various local, regional, and national publications and CDs. We'll also have the good sister, Madam President Darlene Roy, who's a native of East St. Louis, associate editor of Drum Voice Review. president of the Eugene B. Redmond Writers Club. Her poetry has appeared all over the place, including on Metro Link buses and trains. She has a chapbook, Soon One Morning, and other poems. She's performed on radio, television, conferences throughout the United States. And finally, we have my good colleague, Jeffrey Scoblo, who is a native New Yorker. He's been hanging out at Edwardsville for a little bit over 20 years. He teaches modern American literature, world literature here. He's served as an assistant editor for Drum Horses Review. He's just really, in addition to all those things, he's a wonderful public reader. In fact, on Monday, he'll be back here at 12 again reading for one of my classes. And I also say a really big model for how I'm the professor I'm trying to become. So without any further ado, I have you three come forward and present.
Well, we're going to do it one at a time.
One at a time.
I'll start because as I say so often, I'm a princess. Princess I must say that after having served as president of the Eugene B. Redmond Writers Club for the last 26 years, I know, I started as a child. I really have had an opportunity to do so many wonderful things and travel so many wonderful places, meeting writers that some people only dream about having one-on-one dialogue with. Coming from East St. Louis, that's saying a whole lot. And in the work of the Writers Club, working with Eugene, he always told us that we would have this kind of reach. Well, you know, when you start something, you're always thinking, oh, he don't know what he's talking about. Well, he proved us wrong. See where we are today? You're here with us, and we're celebrating Eugene's 75th revolution, and he's still orbiting. So in the work of the club, we would have workshops every summer, and every year we had a set program of the kinds of things we would do. Well, every December for our third, the meeting that we have on the third Tuesday, we would have a pre-Kwanzaa celebration, which is collapsing the whole Kwanzaa holiday into just a one-evening event where we lit all of the 7 candles. And we talked about the principles in paragraphs, small paragraphs. So Eugene got the bright idea. He's always getting bright ideas. Well, we can do this in a more format, and it's such a format that everyone would have the same amount of time, and then they would give the same amount of thrust to the principle that they selected to read about. So we started, or he started with that concept and came back, and next thing we knew, he had worked it all out. He said, okay, now this form will have 7 lines, and it'll have 7 words on each line, and no word will be longer than 7 letters. And we were thinking, wow, you know, going deep into the blues, you know, 7th son of the 7th son kind of thing, or perfect 7 kind of thing, or in numerology kind of thing, days of the week. Going deep into that thought process, yet connecting our African culture in the process. And then as we started working on it and naming it, he decided that, well, the first part of it would come from the name Kwanzaa, the Kwan, the first 4 letters. And we talked about it, and then he came back. He said, you know, the second part should come from the principles in Nguzo Saba. So he took the Saba and put it with the Kwan, and here we have a Kwan Saba. A lot of people don't understand even what it means. So that's why I have to say, and we have to keep saying, that it really means something. It means first principle. And the first principle is that's deep within you that you're willing to live by. So the Kwan Saba is a praise song. It lifts individuals, thoughts, places, ideas. So that is why we're so happy to spread the Quansaba all over the world. And it has been published all over the world. In fact, we get notices all the time that some tiny school in a rural county in southern Illinois or southern Mississippi is doing a project on writing Quansabas because they like the idea. And we want them to keep liking the idea. So I'm going to share with you a few of the Quansabas I have written over the years, and I'll talk about I actually wrote the guidelines for writing effective Quansabas. It was published in this issue of Drum Voices Review. So there's more to it than just the simplicity of what I've said. There are these other guidelines that is important as you begin to actually write them. And before I do that, I want to pass out this program from what we did yesterday. Eugene's daughter, Treasure Shields Redmond, actually sponsored the first program that we had on yesterday at the East St. Louis Higher Education campus. And so you can kind of look at it and pass it back, because part of the mission of being an effective organizer, mover, writer is documentation. You document, you document, you document, and at the end of the day, you've got something that you can look back on that is brings back memories, retrieve the excitement of the process. And all of that goes into the fact that Eugene B. Redmond's collection, his photos, his publications, so forth and so on, will be housed in this library at some point in the future when we finish raising all these millions of dollars that it's going to take to get it done. But the first thing is that you got to have a thought, then you got to have the goal, and then you got to set the timelines to reach the goal. Now, I'm going to read the first Quansaba. I'll share one of them with you. One of my favorites is about Miles Davis, because he is from East St. Louis. I knew his brother Vernon very well, and also knew his daughter. I never did meet Miles because he was already out in the world doing his work. But as a child in the neighborhood and as a young woman in the neighborhood, I actually knew his family members. So this particular piece is entitled Miles of Jazz. Any jazz run ever blown, Miles excelled with his Tory trumpet, air of Dumas's Afro horn that singed woes and morphed into an all blues kind of rule, letting us begin to dig our own gifts and schemes via funky chords that anchor us from drifting like autumn leaves. Okay, so 49 words that give you the feel of a subject matter. Then we can also put Quansabas together to make longer pieces of work. And let's see, one of the ones I'm going to share with you is in 1992, Eugene and I went to Paris, France for the African Americans in Europe conference. It was totally amazing. Thinkers, professors, musicians, dancers, photographers, choreographers, you name it, they were all there. There were over 600 people from all over the world, not just Europe, but from Russia, Germany, you name it. We all came together to celebrate the expatriates who fled to Paris back in the 40s and 50s because they had very little freedom to get their work out and to become famous or understood in the countries that they actually lived in. So this particular piece is entitled African Americans in Europe, apropos Richard Wright, because we also did a major celebration of Richard Wright's work while we were there. They dedicated the home that he lived in, put a huge plaque upside the home on the wall, denoting that he had lived in that place and had worked in Paris. And while we were at that celebration, I actually got a chance to meet his wife and his daughter and grandson. So I mean, just in the midst of history. Okay. Astute legions left borders, oceans, genres, to join Eugene and me in savoring a lion's paws of Richard's signal rights in the city of Edwardsville, on River Seine. At Sorbonne Nouvelle, we avidly feasted on spicy French braised servings of noted black expatriates' feats and legacies. After sampling pommes frites at McDonald's with Al Young, Lorenzo Thomas, our quartet toasted Baker and Dunham, Baldwin and Senghor at Palais de Ville, avec Rampersad, Gaines, Reed, and Michel Fabre, Sip Bordeaux and UNESCO Jazz Chairs, Danny Glover and Jane Cortez, Vamp Verse at Shakespeare and Company. At 14 Rue, Monsieur Le Prince, an African-American man of letters, was bronze onto walls, drawing us toward novel worship, laying hands on brick, rocked me back through city past ages into this ebony outsider study, where a note on desk read, "In America, I am race." You can capture an adventure in a way that you can't do with just photos or just doing journal entry essays, because I kind of did both. I did a journal entry essay also about our trip, and it is also in one of the issues of Drum Voices. And if you read that, you'll find out that I did dance at the UNESCO complex because they asked me to come up. They said, somebody come up from America. So I went up from America. We had a ball. But they wanted someone who could sing. And I said, well, I can't sing, but I can dance. So I danced. Okay, the next piece I'm going to do is a shout out to the fun, the range that you can do with a Kwansaba. The range, the fun. This one is dedicated to James Brown. It's Godfather's Bequest. Super bad, soul brother numero uno, crooned, try me, or whipped us into a cold sweat with flying splits, knee drops, or one-leg skating on Hotfoot's new stage, belting out. Say it loud. Tell me back. I'm black and I'm proud. Say it loud.
I'm black and I'm proud.
That's right. Making me holler back. Please, please don't go. Please, please don't go. Thank you. I'm going to end on that note, but I do want to say that one of the things about writing Kwansabas is that you get to use the standard poetic devices, but we don't use external inline. We use internal rhyme as opposed to inline rhyme. So there are all of the guideline principles are, as I said, in this issue of Drum Voices. So thank you all very much.
Roscoe.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Yes, just to say a little bit about Kwansaba, and of course, Madam President said a couple things that I was going to say, but one of that being the diversity of the farm, the many uses of the farm. And a lot of people, even some of the seasoned published writers, had great difficulty with this the first time or first 2 or 3 times they tackled it. And because of the constrictions, it kind of keeps you in a box, but it's a good box. And after initial frustration, I didn't have a problem with that, but I wanted to make it more than a mathematical equation. I had no problem in following the rules and getting the 49 and the 7s that are involved, but I did want to write something that was either entertaining, touching, or enlightening. And that's the challenge, to write something that flows and that's creative and doesn't sound so structured. And I'm going to give you a diverse mix, well, diverse means mix, but a mixture of what I'm talking about, those concepts in 4 different Kwansabas. The first one is about, well, I don't even have to tell you what it's about. You read it, I mean, you hear it, you should know. It's called Angie. She works Zach's bar and floor, hair pulled back from brooding eyes, sending sweet love notes, hips supersized from too much chicken and Chinese, casting wraparound dreams. Her breaks come sipping Remy or single barrel, teasing perhaps on purpose, then working double on 2-for-1 days. Estranged fruit, Kwansaba for Lady Day. Heroine tracks tales of mourning that don't explain, blending hydrate humor and down low blues inside her veins, or why some man won't give love despite a fine mellow frame. Still, Baltimore Oracle allures us with strange rascality through smoky eyes and dreary diary, exiled from cafe society. Obama's Inferno. Barack's flame rose from tragic ocean crypts, eerie clan cross coals, slim southern pickings, souls and bodies broiled in hopeless Jim Crow stew. It roared in ivy luster, defying odds by leagues, San Chicago grassroots, then coolly torched the burning doubts with matchless charm for change. Up to the minute. Tiny chosen shreds of herb-brown life appear as total info. Then scribes lump tribes by traces of their network worth. Out-of-breath cameras race past pretty gardens resting in rubble as cracks in heads and asphalt and snatch prime time slots from mass reports of pride and triumph. I can end there. We've got 10 minutes. I know it's not 10 minutes, but if you want me to end?
Read one more.
One more? Okay. Now if I can find my Richard Wright real quick. Oh my goodness. Can I get one out of there?
Yeah.
Because Richard Wright is 3 Kwansabas, so. This one is called Kwansaba or Professor's Piece. Bad bard in scholar frocks tapped sable cortex from boogie bass and doyen feats. Pluck first plums out of Eden verses, onk-scented psalms and sevens, spear rituals and tender phrases, pains are drummed duress, rhymes even less, reached earglobes as fruits Rand's gamut, fresh in 49. Thank you.
Hey everybody. Hey. Wow, a lot of everybody. Cool. First principles. That's something I never knew. It feels so right. That's so perfect. Quan Saba. I always think of it as a commemorative form of an anniversary, of a birth, of a death, of a career, of a publication of something. So first principles just rings true with that. It's good. Something else that makes me feel about Quan Saba is a desire to write them quickly, kind of an exhalation of some kind. Something about the form invites that to me, and about the sense of an occasion, not something necessarily, for me anyway, to labor over, although maybe I should labor over them some more. I'm going to read just a few of them. This first, there are two Obama Quan Saba is the title. I wrote them when Barack Obama was elected president 4 years ago. And I hauled them out the other day to see if they've held up, and they hold up pretty well, I'm pleased to say. So, at least as a feeling, that's good to know. To Obama Quan Saba. Man comes out of the blue wide world and strides on skinny legs all the way from nowhere to the center of power, which is his power first, but also power drawn from the well of all people, the breath and hands of all of us working as one. The moment is a sudden sea of what? Of hope, of course, of human being out from under some dread spell, of welling spirit and willing heart, and history smiling for once, or once again, upon us. A moment to keep in dreams and keep on keeping on. Obama. And let me just add, thank God. That was not easy.
No.
Okay. Here's another double one. This was an occasion, I mean, typically I'd find an email from Eugene saying, oh, it's Catherine Dunham's 95th birthday, Quan Saba time, or it's something else, or it's something else. So this was an event, I don't remember the numbers exactly, it was a Miles Davis, Catherine Dunham anniversary.
Henry Dumas.
Right, that's
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
that's right. So this is another double Quan Saba with a kind of haiku in the middle, just to make that link. It's called Not Entirely Imaginary Concert. But half of this is true. I did see Miles Davis one time in concert at the Hollywood Bowl, maybe 1985, something like that, near the end of his career. And then Catherine Dunham appears. So Not Entirely Imaginary Concert. As it happens, first the man comes out and turns his back and begins to play in short, sweet bursts with bitter edges around the endless bottom of all our souls. And soaring too, in spite of that, as if a dream made flesh in the Los Angeles night. The thump of the drum and the jumping pulse of blood call the dancer forth. And there she is, her legs a drum, her hips a horn, her swaying back, the motion of a billion mothers, and fathers before her, finding the ground and finding it again, swerving with and against its deep orbit, rolling under every step and lift and earthly breath. And here's one for Richard Wright. It was another occasion. A dream of Richard Wright. At this point, I really can't remember anymore if I actually had this dream and wrote it down, or if this is the dream. I can't tell you. A dream of Richard Wright. Richard, I hear you knock or cough on the other side of the wall tonight. Then your voice swims, slowly first, then quickly, in soft French, furious tones. Where are we now? Across what divides must we travel to hear each other clearly? Qu'est-ce que nous faisons now? What do we do now? And here's one more. It's an exhalation. It's for you, Gene. I thought I should write you one. It's coming. It's on its way. This is what I have for you so far. I was really, I just started like I start, and found myself really just drawn to EBR, the sort of initials that kind of recur in my mind. EBR. EBR. So this is just a little game with EBR called EBR 75. Eugene B.R. is. But what's more, you, Gene, are more than just one single you, Gene. You, B.R., more like a multi-warhead of peace and love. Not just in your one self, but in those multi-selves you've touched, held, shaped, is.
I'm going to have a couple of my students read, but I got to say this, I'm about to impart the knowledge here for you. You got to take note of this. If you want to meet the important people, you have to organize a reading of some sort. And I give you 3 examples of that. Once, it was about 5 or 6 years ago, I don't know, somebody had this reading and said, we're going to have somebody speak on campus, and it was this first-time senator came on campus, and I still remember that. And what I remember most about Barack Obama when he was just Senator Obama coming on campus, there were all of these folks came on, and he's walking, and he stops at one moment, and he reaches out his hand, and he says, my name is Barack Obama. And the person he responded to said, my name is Earlene Patterson. So I saw Patterson there, and I remember that, how he stopped for her. You got to organize reading. Here go my second example. A month ago, Nikki Giovanni, wonderful poet, was on campus. But what I remember about that event that stood out to me in a big way was I had met Nikki Giovanni many times before, but it was the first time that I met my university's chancellor. So she's here now, so thanks so much for coming out today. If you want to say something, thanks so much. Thank you. Thanks for coming. Chancellor, she's here. And the last one is actually in this space. You got to organize around poetry. Maya Angelou was on campus, and we had done, Redmond and I had done an exhibit of her photos. Her 80th birthday had passed, and we had done an exhibit for Oprah, had asked us to do one for Maya Angelou's 80th birthday, so we did it. When we knew Maya Angelou was going to visit SIUE, we did it again. And it was like one of the most unbelievable experiences to me when we were walking with her. There are 80 photos that Redmond has taken, and that's just a small amount that he's taken of Maya Angelou. But we had 80 photos in the exhibit. And so she says, I want you and Redmond to take me on a tour of the exhibit. And so, of course, you say yes, of course, right, to Maya Angelou. But what was most amazing to me is we would go around each photo, and she would look at it and say, oh my, that's not me. And then she would look at Redmond and say, that's not me. And then he'd say, yeah, that's you. And he would tell her exactly where. He's like, that was 1988. You were in so-and-so. And she's like, oh, wow. Then she moved to the next photo. And she's like, that's not me. Then she looked at Redmond and said, that's not me. He said, yes, that was you in 1995. Then we did this 80 times. So it was really something. But I just love, and he, you know how it is. He had the same response to everyone. I was most amazed, though, that he named all 80 photos. He told her the year, told her the place, but I just loved how she would see them. And it was like the first time she had ever seen it. And I've been fortunate enough to do so many exhibits with Professor Redmond, and often tour some of the people who were featured. So we did one with Amiri Baraka and Redmond, and he's going through telling him, this is when you were here, this is when you were here. Same with Sonia Sanchez, Mari Evans, so many folks. So it's just been an honor doing that. We're going to switch gears just a little bit. Whenever they say a program, I'm always looking out for the folks in my circle, so I have them read. I'm going to start with one of my lead GAs, Cindy Lyles. She's going to start with me. She's been a GA for me for a couple of years. She rarely gets to stop and pause because we try to keep it moving with Black Studies. So she's going to read one poem. She's a second-year master's student here. She is also teaches an African American literature class, and she makes all of these kinds of things happen.
Thank you, guys. Y'all are too sweet. Can the people in the back hear me?
Read up just a little bit louder.
Okay. Can you hear me? Yes? Okay, good. So we've been celebrating your 75th, your impending 75th, and we've done so with Kwansabas and talking about the form, our glorious 7 form that you've given us. But in celebrating you and your form, and the form that you guys have created, we also have to celebrate the city from whence you come, right? So East St. Louis, being a resident of East St. Louis, this felt very appropriate to recite today for you guys. This is something I wrote called Redemption Poem for East St. Louis. If only for a moment in time, I want my voice to become your voice, my hope to become your hope, in hopes of us seeing eye to eye as I pour out my heart into your hands. Will you hold it? For so long, we've been quiet and stifled by insults, stifled by self-inflicted hurt, to the point of no return. As outsiders turn and look, they look and turn and point and talk. And all we do is suck it up and walk away as if they're justified in hurling East Side stereotypes and slandering words. But what else would we expect with such jaded eyes, my dear loves? All they can see are echoes of mess, which ripple effects to every closed-minded person they know, with nothing better to do than to make us nothing more than less. But I stand in the gap for us with words that dare not demolish, but words that bless. The world gives us a reputation that makes us feel low rent and low rate when we really ain't, but that's okay. Because I'm probing below the surface, below the rough, beyond that dirt to find the real stuff. Behold, I found the content of your true character. I see that when fear knocks at the door, faith answers. I see that when we fall, we rejoice in getting back up. In our times of need, pulling together isn't an option, it's a must. I see our glorious history that tells tales of turmoil at Woolworth's counters on Collinsville Avenue. And I can too see our friendly battles between East Side Flyers and Lincoln Tigers back when they were 2 different high schools. I even remember hearing how our face shined when told, "You're an all-American city," in 1959. I remember those glory days, and I can see how you think I then was better than I right now. But know that our humble now is only preparing us for a triumphant return. Be confident in that. Sooner or later, the rest of the world will have to learn. Yes, I know we've been beaten down, broken down, pulled down, slowed down, talked down, and shot down so much. But I write these words to dust us off, to pick us up. For there's an abundance of beauty found through our ashes. I write these words to help us hold fast. I write to give us hope, a voice. I write to give us the freedom to be proud of exactly who we are and stand strong and where we're from. Pump your fist in the air if you know enough is enough. This is our time. East St. Louis, stand up. Be courageous. Be strong. Dance a new dance and sing your new song. And if anybody tries to put our newfound confidence to the test, be humble. As you ever so kindly remind them, the sun always rises in the east before it can set in the west.
These young people, boy, I like them. Right now, you know you get somewhere too when you be like that. Yeah, these young people, boy. Next, since on the East St. Louis tip, I'm gonna have a young guy, one of the young men who helps out with our program a lot. Vince Manuel, he was always asking me, he said, hey, what do you all need help with Black Studies? I said, well, we're doing a reading on the 29th. So I'm gonna have this young man read. He's a poet, also a rhymer. Raps a lot, and you always see him wearing these hats. I think he has about 75 or so hats. So he's gonna do one.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening. Afternoon.
I guess growing up from East St. Louis, I grew up in the South Side. Very dangerous or whatnot. A lot of drug activity in my area. But thanks be to God, I got out of it. I never stuck into it, you know, and I created my own path, you know, with faith in Him, you know. So I made this up, you know. I do everything from the top of my head. So hopefully you all enjoy it, and this is just, you know, my perspective on, you know, saying how I guess like just express myself. So hope you all enjoy it. I'm sorry if I get too loud. I'm sorry. Some say I'm just a poet. I'm politicking the logic of a conscience, hoping these comets commit to astonish these continents. So one day I can say, mission accomplished. But see, in all honesty, spewing prophecy in this society will probably conjure mockery of physical fakeness of what lies lie behind those eyes that see. So even if you could part this flowing sea, in reality, there is no stopping poetry. So as I take pencil, fused with potential, and present you with credentials of an unknown issue, this is what I give you. A reinforced life of a poet's life without discrimination. But see, in the end, they say I'm just a poet, and that's fine. But I was born a squire, now I walk as a young king. I'm sowing seeds and spin dreams like MLK and the heavenly king of kings. I'm young, black, gifted, kid with his life and words. I'm using verbs and similes to curve my enemies. This is all energy. I'm like a Spartan marching into the wilderness with a sword and shield, digging deep within my soul to bring out the will, power, every hour, dropping words from the sky like a lyrical shower. And sometimes pains reign so supreme within my brain, I still promise to remain the same. These are wise words from a young soul, and I'm still walking on this black road with hope, faith, patience, and wisdom, all with God's help. Thank you.
We have two more. Thanks again, Vince, for reading. And I'm always glad to have folks who run through the English department do this. Well, I'm always on the recruitment for African American literature and just general literature in the English department. So I'm also glad y'all young folks, high school students here, because y'all know, you know, when you come here now after school, you know exactly what department to hit to. Anyway, that's the ad. Right before the last two, we're going to have a longtime member. Well, relatively speaking, I'll say short-term member, which means the last few years, member of the Writers Club, Susan Lively. She goes by the spoken word name of Spitfire. She's a poet, she's an author, she's a vocalist, photographer, and producer. So I'm going to have her read one piece right before our last one.
Thank you. My name is Susan Lively. As he said, I'm known by the stage name Spitfire. This is a Kwansaba that I wrote for Dr. Redmond. This is called Heart of a Warrior. Warrior, poet of sacred Eastern city, mirror in mind's eye, voice of black fire, scribe for ages, timeless sage, griot savior, peering deep in the starry void, fearless pen and sword, teaching volumes, Redmond's voltaic gaze, cryptic knife cutting through haze, echoing forever in halls of the world.
I can't believe y'all had me here this whole time. Every year, right before I just going to say again, talking to my good friend, colleague, collaborator Patterson, we take 40 first-year students to Cincinnati to a museum, an African American history museum. And one of the ways I've always discovered that I've been getting a little older is because on the trip up there, the seat beside me is always empty. Because, you know, if you get in trouble, you have to sit by Ramsey. And I was like, wow, I don't know when I got to that point. That nobody wants to sit by me, but I guess it is again. I'm thinking this is very presidential. The last poet we'll have read is my other half of Black Studies. She makes everything happen. She organized all of our things today. She hooked us up with the refreshments. She didn't know it years ago when we, right before she started working with Black Studies, she showed up to one of our events and she made the mistake and told me she was a poet. And I said, well, if you're a poet, let me hear you read something. So she started reading her poetry right there. And ever since, I've been one of the people following her around trying to get her to read some more poetry. So Danielle Hall, a graduate student in historical studies.
Well, it's an honor to be here today. The piece I'm going to present is entitled Lineage. So obviously history is a big part of me, but even it's a blessing to be here to celebrate with Professor Redmond, and also just the experience of learning about, I study Catherine Dunham, so I always have to kind of tie her in, but because of their friendship and the ties to East St. Louis, I live in St. Louis, but we're all family here. So this is about our beautiful history. We are the descendants of great leaders. Our lineage remains knit together like the threads of a quilt, patches covering lifetimes, enduring struggle, and though worn, it continues to warm the souls of those it touches through service, through love. It is life, and it is here in our hearts, though it resided in Ivory Coast, in Benin, in Ghana, in Congo, from Egypt to Mali, the city of Timbuktu. See, it made it through the Middle Passage to passages of scriptures on Jesus and our promised land. It transcribed our language into literature, into music and entertainment, into politics and activism. It documented our tribal rhythms. It watched us shuffle along the banks of the Mississippi, Lindy Hop north to New York, Kansas City, St. Louis, even Chicago. It heard the transition from rag to blues to jazz, turned bebop to hip-hop. It even asks who's bad with Michael Jackson. See, it is a symbol of our compassion, for it is stained from the years of the tears we've cried over Emmett, over Medgar, over Malcolm, over King, and for Obama. It tells the story over a Southern cooked meal about how we came to be. It remembers Marcus Garvey. A people without the knowledge of their past history, culture, and origin is like a tree without roots. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Professor Redmond, you wanted to make some remarks? Please do.
Yeah.
Miles Davis died on September 28, 1991, and on October 9 of that same year, there was a funeral for him at his Donahue Redmond, Darlene Roy, and my Sunshine Sylvester Lee, and my alma mater, Lincoln High School in East St. Louis. And the prologue to a piece that I eulogize Miles with is called Milestone, the Birth of an Ancestor, for Miles Dewey Davis III, in memoriam in futurium. Dum, 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 sweet, sweet, dum, 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 dum. Dressed up in pain, the flatted Fifth began his funereal climb up the tribal stairwell. Dum, 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 dum. Grief radiant as it bulged and gleamed with moans, spread like laughter or Ethiopia's wings, mourned its own percussive rise, became blues born in the hoarse East St. Louis air, bore witness to the roaring calm, the garrulous silence, the caskets of tears, the death of the cool, the death of the cool became the birth of an ancestor. Yeah, y'all. The death of the cool begat the birth of an ancestor. The poet at work, or the nurse at work, or the shoeshine boy at work, or the banker at work, the chemist at work, the librarian at work, the videographer at work, the percussionist at work, is a wonderful, beautiful thing to withhold. Poet comes from a language, and in its context means getting the work done. Do what you say you're going to do. Make something. So we all make things. Comes out of a lot of languages, including ancient Greek. Make up things, make things. Unless you are a vampire or Methuselah, you only get to be 75 one time. So this is my first and last time around. And I am, gratitude is an understatement. Earth, Wind and Fire does it a lot better than I do, because they got, you know, you can boogie to their gratitude. But gratitude is an understatement. One young woman I taught back in the early to mid 90s kept, an English major, kept asking me for references. You know, first she got out 6 months and then 8 months and said, and what is going on? Well, we see now what went on and what is going on because she's vice president of Bank of America. Yes. Michelle Foster Tucker. Her beauty and her intellect were so compelling until when Jeffrey Scarborough saw her today, 15 years or so after he taught her, he called her by her name. So he saw the same thing that we all saw in the classrooms. She was also one of the founders of the Black Literary Guild, and she was a student assistant to me and some others. My point is that as anthologies, collections, we pick up so many people. Michelle and I have stayed in touch. This weekend, a number of people that I've known and whom I've taught will be coming to town for a birthday party. And one of them stepped into my freshman comp class in 1977. He is now 51 and vice president for academic affairs of a college in San Jose. And we've stayed in touch since 1977. All these things, I think, speak for themselves. All about the anthology that you become, that you collect. You are a collection. And when I say to young people that James Rosser, whom I met in the 3rd grade, and who is now president of California State University at Los Angeles, retiring next year, and I have been friends for 65 years, I just roll back like, you know, what is 65 years? I can't even think about 65 years. But we met in the 3rd grade at John Robinson Elementary School, and I was just with him last month on his campus. So we're, again, anthologies, we're collections, and as we get more seasoned and collect more people and get collected, we create more anthologies. When I left California State University last month, I got a stream of letters and calls from students and faculty, and most of them started with, I'm an anthology now. I know what I am now. Well, among all the other things, I'm a collection of the best and the worst that has crossed my burning sand. So, there are people in this room, other people with whom I can talk about the dangers, the warts and the beauties, the struggles, just as I just sketch quickly what Michelle and I have experienced over the last, say, 17 years, as she has gone on to do what she's done, and with her family and with her profession. But well, I think the point is made, and again, the word gratitude is an understatement. In particular, as I think of this collection, the EBR collection, that there would be a place for all the stuff that are hauled over continents, down alleys, over mountains on my back, almost getting court-martialed in the Marine Corps when one of the officers found out that I had a bag of books instead of gear for bad weather. He saw the points in one of the duffel bags, you know, jutting. He said, "What is that?" "My gear." Open it up, books. So all of that stuff, you know, thefts, floods, fires, that which has survived will go into a place where you, and I always say when I come talk to any group, you will be, everyone in this room will be in the collection because I have an image. I have taken a picture of everybody in this room. So wherever I go, I guarantee the people that they can bring their great-grandchildren 50 years from now back to the Midwest, what William Gass calls the heart of the country. That writer William Gass across the river there. And you can go through it, and it'll probably will have been indexed, digitized, and you'll be able to find your name and your photo, or your words, or your letter, or a book that you sent me, or a card. That's the beauty of what we do and who we are. And I thank you and I love you. Join Methuselah, the vampire, and me, and get to 75.
Oh, just a few more minutes of me. As co-chair of Eugene's 75th birthday celebration, along with Donahue Redmond, his nephew back there, we want to thank you for coming out. And I do want to say that we are having a major celebration on Saturday evening at the East St. Louis Higher Education Center in the all-purpose room. We do have a few more spots available, so if you're interested in coming, I do have invitations that I would like for you to complete and give back, because Eugene likes to keep everything in his files, and we do have someone doing the spreadsheet for us.
Al Henderson.
Al Henderson, his faithful and loyal assistant this time, and anybody who's ever been one of his assistants know what I'm talking about. I'm not even a paid person, and I know. So, but anyway, we really do appreciate you coming out to be with us in this celebration, because truly a person who has given so much deserves such honor. So I'll give it back to
There's some cards.
Oh yes, I do. I have the invitation. Well, Al has the invitation. Oh, and also we have some save the date cards, because we do have several events going forward. One of them will be tomorrow at East St. Louis Senior High School from 2:30 to 3:45, where we'll engage the students in the city. And it's, you know, the sooner you can get to them, the better it is. Then tomorrow evening we're doing jazz and poetry at the East St. Louis City Hall from 7 to 9. And then the big celebration will be on Saturday, invitation only, from 6 to 10. So I invite you to come and join us at any of the other events. They're all free. You understand? Free? Free! They're all free because we want the broadest reach. We want sustained accessibility for what we have to give, because while a lot of young people don't understand the craft and the art of the word, the power of the word, we want to always make it available to them whether they want it or not. So at this time, I'm turning it back over to our wonderful, and I can't thank Howard enough for chairing this event. Because, you know, I gave you the ball and you took it and you ran with it, and I appreciate it. So
I appreciate you all for coming out.
Okay.
Just real quickly, folks, we got, I'm going to have Sunshine close out, but we have snacks on the side. And these are Black Studies, so it's free, but there is a small price, just a small price. Anytime I have gatherings, and we funded it, the price is try to introduce yourself to at least 2 people that you did not know here. It would be a shame for you all to leave and not meet anybody that you didn't know. So that is the price for being here. Introduce yourself to at least 2 people that you did not know when you came. and then I won't be after you about money, okay? So, all right. Thank you all so much for coming.
High school poetry won the award here.
Oh, really? Yeah, that's right, I forgot. You want to introduce him real quick?
Okay, yeah.
We did have a contest yesterday in the program that we had, and the winner of the contest is here. High school student at the charter school, Desmond Porter. Please stand. So Quansaba is really quick, so come on up and do your Quansaba for us. We're really proud of him to take that step to write something and then take a bigger step to get up and perform it. So let's give him another round of applause.
Just thought you would just pass it through that.
Hello, my name is Des Porter, and this is my Quansaba titled Freedom.
Okay, lift your voice.
Freedom. Why must we be locked in cages or locked in chains against our will? Is it because of our skin tone or how unsure and scared you feel? Is this a cruel joke you play or how you were raised to feel? We are now free, but haven't healed. Thank you.